Sapo ba ako na pa? Baba lang.
Grace and family, be ready.
Oops.
Well, that might be the hope of some of our detractors. But I think once the people are aware of exactly what we did, but more importantly, what we are going to do and what we have been doing, that will be maintained. And of course, these numbers fluctuate. Okay?
Bakit po hindi sinama yung awarding ng mga piso?
Ang iniisa atin, teachers, which we agreed to. I don't know kung tapos na sila yung process, etc. All I know is the teachers na tapos. Well, again, the only request that our office got was for the teachers, if I remember correctly. And that's what we agreed to, yung teachers.
Ito ka pa rin.
Meron,
Grace and family, dito na po mag-line up sa left side. Yung mga companions.
Then the last was a letter from the Chief Executive of the Special Administrative Region, and I referred that particular letter to the appropriate entity. I think I referred it to Secretary Green.
Can we have a photo with and we have Mr. Root, Dr. Root.
It will definitely not be 3 weeks. Probably won't even be 2 weeks. But rather than put a fixed date to it, in case there are some new developments, yung new forensic evidence that comes up, I'd rather not give them a fixed deadline, but I was given an assurance that it will be less than 2 weeks. Substantially less. That really is a function of their government, no? And we cannot interfere with what they believe would be most prudent as far as their citizens are concerned. But we are committed to coming out, even for our own purposes alone, a report that is unassailable. And hence, we have given the DOJ, the NBA, and the DILG the appropriate means and the appropriate directions to come up with an unassailable report.
So do they want people from
In your Wednesday na to, okay? Yeah.
Hindi maganda yung photo.
to be made responsible for what happened?
No, we haven't gotten that communication. In fairness to them, the requests have centered on giving access to their personnel to conduct their own investigation. And so long as it does not interfere with our official investigations, we don't see any problem in granting them access. We want transparency in this matter.
Rather na dito,
We are at that advanced stage, according to the OPAP, an advanced stage in negotiations that changing the third party at this point might increase, might delay the whole process. That was the advice I got from the presidential advisor on the peace process. Canceled on trips. The first one will be America. Yung Indonesia, I understand, can only accommodate us sometime in October. Yung Vietnam, there is also a summit in Vietnam scheduled the same date. We have asked that if we can do what has to be done in Vietnam on one trip rather than 2 trips. Yung during for that, yung sa ASEAN, there's an ASEAN summit. I did promise that I would limit the trips to those that are absolutely necessary. Vietnam is the host for ASEAN this year, and we should visit Vietnam. But if keeping with our promise to be more judicious in the way we spend the people's money, especially given the fact that we have very little left, and I felt it was more prudent to have 1 trip rather than 2. Sorry, teka lang. Well, that was the advice of the DFA also.
Dr. Kev.
Again, we will be guests. The host said they can accommodate us in October. How can we insist that we do it in September? And towards the latter part of September is the signing for the Millennium Challenge Corporation's grant, amongst other things. Perhaps on the sidelines, not yet definite. I understand we're all attending the General Assembly.
So do you expect us to understand why you're skipping the things in the U.S. and not when the tradition is that it should be ASEAN?
It's not a unilateral decision, di ba? Multilateral. There are a lot of demands on the President of Indonesia, amongst others. Sa Vietnam, I will have to get the details. Pero as far as Indonesia is concerned, we were told that the earliest opportunity would be in October. But our schedule for America happens to be in September. I assume that they will also be going to the General Assembly then the conditions are pertain to everybody. I don't see why there is a need for any extra understanding. We're working on that. So, in October for Indonesia. Yung October in Vietnam, I think, is already set, no? For the ASEAN Summit. But yung, of course, assuming that there's nothing that happens untoward, like, most of our storms are just approaching the country.
Sir, with the kinds of criticisms that you've been getting, do you think that the honeymoon with the media and the public is officially over?
I've never had a honeymoon. I think I can show you all of the columns that have been hitting me before I even was proclaimed. So that is to be expected with the turf. But I'm sure that a lot of them, especially those who have decided to be critics regardless of the circumstances and facts, once they know of the facts, then I think they will be hard pressed to come up with their next criticism.
You started to feel this.
One by one. Wait then. Well, I had to attend to decide to attend so many other things. And that's a detail that was not brought to my attention anymore. The reasons for their not attending. I think what is important that they recognize the award. I understand they've accepted the awards.
So have you started to feel the impact of the fallout from the bus accident, particularly on today?
Well, there is a number of cancellations. But as to how much the effect is, I have not yet received a report from either NEDA or the DOT.
So tingin niyo, sir, it will be long doon yung effects?
3 months na effect sa tourism natin and it would reach $75 million.
Mga worst case scenario yun. That's why we have to do something about it right now. Can I just stress that in this particular week, you will see the corrective actions that are already going to be taken.
So ano pong gagawin ng pabalansa para mabawasan yung epekto ng hostage crisis sa
Tatas mo muna yung antas ng pagiging, yung pakiramdam na meron sila kaligtasan sa pagbabiyahe dito. So papakita natin yung ating mga abilidad. Pangalawa, meron nga talagang mga dapat iayos sa mga sistema umiiral. No? Kung meron man talaga akong kasalanan dito sa kulang namin 2 buwan sa panunungkulan, marami ho kaming iniintinding problema na alam naman po nyo. No? Nandiyan na po yung pag-aayos ng gobyerno ito. I-organize mo pa lang, priority yun. Dahil lahat naman ang gusto mo na wala ka namang kadamay o papatakbo nito, wala akong mangyayari. Yung ating situation sa tulad yan, may isang ng hostage na hindi naman natin masasabing una to, na-resolve ng pagkahaba-habang panahon na maayos. Talaga dito, may mga factors na nagbago sa resulta nangyari. Ito yung na kailangan tutukan. Plus, nabigyan tayo ng pagkakataon ngayon, matutukan naman yung mga ibang bagay na dapat aksyonan na rin kagad. At yun, hindi ko pwede sabihin sa inyo ngayon dahil may mga investigation tayong ginagawa, both formal and informal. At yung resulta, inaasa ako this week, papakita sa inyo.
Concerns ng mga tourist.
For instance, inactivate na, I think even on that day, tinanong ko kung meron tourist police tayo that used to be a unit in so many areas. O, sagot sa atin, for whatever reason, natanggal. So, pina-reactivate, pina-retrain ng policemen to be, to assist all of our visitors, domestic or foreign, when they visit all of these sites. No? Yung, nando na rin yung pagtututok sa mga criminals seemingly directed at people who arrive at the airports. No? At lahat ito, hinihintay ko nga yung mga resulta dati. Plus, even systems and procedures in various industries connected to it are also being looked into. And your colleagues in other beach would have the story.
In Malaysia as the facilitator of peace talks, what prompted this, sir? Was this a recommendation of the panel?
I answered that, Joyce, kasi as the first question. Pero dahil ikaw nagtanong, ulitin ko na lang. We are supposed to be at really at an advanced stage of negotiations. Changing the third party at this point might derail the attainment of the comprehensive agreement at the soonest possible time. So yun ang advice ng ating advisor on the peace process. Okay? Oh, sige. Pati yung Wednesday next week kasama na.
What is your message dun sa mga parang sa no pressuring the government to heads, yung parang nag-pressure sa inyo na dapat daw heads should roll dito sa lahat?
Siguraduhin natin muna kung kaninong heads ang dapat mag-roll. Siguraduhin na naman po natin na may papalit tayong head doon sa tatanggalan natin ng heads. And I'm not saying that flippantly, no? you have to make sure that the people you put in critical units, can perform. It's not that they're just in the zone. Yeah. Hindi yung porkita nagkataon na parang qualified sila in a general sense. Pwede na. Kailangan in a very specific sense, especially when we're trying to recapture the confidence of not only our people but also our international friends that we are a place that is perhaps not immune like they are from crime and terrorism, but at the same time, we are not a very dangerous place because we are doing our responsibility.
So, are you concerned na baka dahil sa mga batikos natin yung tatanggap, baka babagsak yung popularity rating?
Tinanong na rin po kanina yun. Okay? Kaya kung pagbibigyan mo na lang ako, ibang tanong na lang kaya last.
Secretary Robredo, wala bang conflict na he was involved in the incident? Part din siya ng investigation na parang he will be...
As I think I did mention already to you, part of the brief that I gave Secretary Robredo is at this point in time, he concentrates on so many other things that affect the local governments primarily rather than yung police. The police I've designated under Secretary Puno to be more directly in charge. It should be a conflict of interest. Yung temporarily, dahil nga, amongst the things na kasama ko si Mayor Robredo na ipinangako yung sa informal settlers, that problem should have been resolved in 1994. We're already in 2010. Yung inventory of the informal settlers at saka land for socialized housing has not yet been done. Medyo extensive yung problema ngayon. Yung he was attending, if I'm not mistaken, I think there was this member of the NAPOLCOM who was on TV, who was performing a role as a talking head. And I'm not sure exactly where he got the permission to do so. So while he was talking, he was already shutting the door onto the demands of Captain Mendoza. This was before lunch, if I'm not mistaken. So parang lalong pinakomplicate yung negotiations. And he should have thought best before uttering those utterances. So amongst the things that I asked Secretary Robredo to do was to rein in this member of the NAPOLCOM, so that he does not make the problem that much bigger. Unfortunately, that person, contrary to my wishes, proceeded to become a talking head again in an evening program. So he will be disciplined. Yung partly, but again, at the same time, at the end of the day, I'm Commander-in-Chief. I was in touch with Director General Versosa. I asked who the ground commander was. I was informed it was Magtibay. I was also informed that the NCRPO was there to back up Magtibay. I was informed that the SAF would be the primary unit tasked. Yung in case there was a need to employ the final option. A lot of these things did not happen. And that is part of the subject of the investigation. Why exactly were yung assurances given to me not done? And that is where I will show you corrective actions this week. No, that's correct. No, I will show you the things that I've inherited and what our corrections are. And yung what, are there institutional problems? Are there organizational issues? Are there yung talagang, don't ask me to reveal all of these things. Because they were doing an investigation. And if I give the people we're investigating any hit, then that makes the process of getting the necessary convictions that much more harder. Yeah? I don't think I've ever lied to anybody here. So when I tell you something will develop this week, you can count on it. Okay? She's a citizen of the Republic imbued with rights. Amongst them would be to undertake communications. Unless she did something harmful to the state, I don't think the state can call her attention to her exercising her freedom of speech. No ballpark figure yet at this point. Okay?